Hello.
Hello.
You all right?
Good. Very good. The sun's
How you
out.
doing?
I've got myself a coffee. I'm living the high life. Look.
Tim, tell you're a game developer, coffee at this time.
I know. It's got to be done. Got to be done. So how are we doing? We good?
Bearing up.
Good.
It's tough. It's a tough old life running Kickstarters, you know. People don't realise.
I have to say that until we did this, I had no idea what actually was involved in actually doing a Kickstarter campaign. Because normally when I've been involved with them, it's been like, oh, would you mind, have you got any artwork you could, help with to support a tier level or a reward tier? But doing this has been like, wow, it's been a real eye opener how much work goes on behind the scenes to actually run these things. So, yeah.
It's crazy, isn't it?
It's a learning process.
Graeme, you'll remember the Brighton Sword 5 one. I mean, you were in the office occasionally, I think. Did you come to York?
No, I didn't. I couldn't make it. I was I was one of the ones that was defending all the comments and people. I think a lot of people got very entitled about what they were going to get out of it, and if anything was a minute late, then people started kicking off about it, and it was.
There was quite a lot.
Yeah, it was
quite a lot of drama.
Yeah,
it was just the whole thing was really intense. I mean, it was just non-stop. I mean, this has been pretty difficult, and there's only like 2 of us doing it. But the Brighton Sword 5 one, I mean, every day we were doing the game, and we were doing updates and filming stuff and all sorts. And it was crazy, the whole thing. I mean, I remember it like yesterday. Really, it's 12 years ago, isn't it? It's more than that. It's 13 years
12
ago.
years.
Yeah.
Wow.
It was like 2012.
Blimey.
And it's 2025 now, isn't it?
Wow. 2015.
2015 now. It's 3 years ago. 3 years ago.
That is crazy.
Dark times.
It was crazy.
Yeah.
So, how have you spent the last 2 weeks? Then we're halfway through your campaign. How's it going?
It's going well. I mean, as Tony said, it's a lot of work doing the campaign, and it actually really interferes with game development because I'm at a stage where I'm desperate to get back on working on the game full time, but you're kind of running the campaign stuff, doing your social media, answering people's messages, and doing stuff for the campaign. So you're kind of juggling a lot of the time. But around that, I mean, I've been working on sort of because we reached the stretch goal. For the extra levels, so I've been working on extra level designs and how we're going to put them in the game. So my job next week is actually put those levels into the game. That's the immediate thing, so people can immediately see that stretch goal has actually got some meaning behind it rather than just some random thing we've picked out of the air. So the plan is to basically, what I've been working on is to choose each area and add a couple of little bits in that wasn't there before. So, rather than go into you might find a doorway, I'm going to put a hidden doorway in one of the levels. So you don't know it's there until you go up to the wall, and then you get transported to a secret level. So we're going to put that in. And that's pretty much what I've been doing the last week, and also working on some sprites. I've been putting some more sprites together for the game. So we're working on some other bits that are going to be appearing later. So yeah.
So how secret is secret? Are we allowed to know about it?
Well, imagine you're walking up in the game. You're walking up to a wall, and it looks like there's nothing there, but it actually, and then you go into it, and then it basically transports you straight to the next level, to another level, like a room or something. And then when you come out of that room, you then appear back into where you came from. That kind of idea. So it'll be like treasure. I'm still trying to work out whether it should be full of treasure or there should be something a bit nasty in there. I'm trying to balance it out because of the difficulty curve in the game. Because in the game, you've got like a difficulty curve that kind of goes like that, and then as you go further in, it goes up and up and up and up. And as you're getting through, you're introduced to more items to collect, and the weapons you need to use. You need to switch what weapons you've got to use them for certain situations. So I'm trying to work out whether these extra bits I'm putting in are going to rely on just the crowbar, or whether you pick up the gun and you use the gun I'm just still like which way to go. But once I get them in next week, then I'll be testing it, and Tony will be testing it, and we can bounce the ideas off each other and say what works and what doesn't work. And that's pretty much how we've done the rest of the game, to be honest. I mean, we've kind of just bounced stuff off each other, and I'll put something in, and Tony will say to me, "Oh, what about trying this?" And then we tweak it, and it works. And likewise, it's pretty cool, and because we're making this it's for us to play, as well as everybody else. So it's quite a long process, isn't it, Tony? The way we develop the game, because we're not sticking to a formula. We're just trying it and pushing it and working things out. And if it works, it works.
Yeah, we're not on a schedule either, are we? Really, as such, no. With not like a spreadsheet of tasks and stuff like that. It's just like what appears to be next, and then discuss it, and ideas get generated, and then we go off down those little things. It's like little tentacles spreading out. So it's not the most efficient from I suppose it's not very businessy, is it? But it's what good games come from. So
yeah,
all the great games, they were all made that way, without a doubt. So I mean, that's just what we do. I mean, it all gets contained by other things like the limitations on the machine and stuff like that. So we are working randomly to some degree on the actual game, but the game itself is constrained by say the Spectrum Next. So we can't go completely crazy, but we can't predict exactly what the end result will be because we don't know yet.
Yeah.
So how have you spent the last sort of 2 weeks, Tony? I've seen mumblings of a high score board.
Yeah, I did. Well, I did the high score board for the PC. So the PC demo has got that in. I mean, it's a bit bare bones at the moment, but functionally it works. It will eventually look a bit nicer than it does. But it's got all the old school high score tricks in it, like checking for all sorts of names and keywords and things and replacing them and things like that. So all the fun things that used to happen with old school high score tables. So there's going to be loads of those things in, which are all good fun. So that works on PC, and I was going to do it for the Spectrum this weekend, but I've been completely sidelined. I did a new generator. There's a new kind of ghost type thing that we're working on, so that works on the PC as well. So I thought, I better port that first to the Next. So I started that like yesterday, and I finished it this morning. But then I kind of ran into what I think is the crash bug that's happening on the Next version very occasionally. Like a couple of people have seen it a few times, but most people don't. But there is a crash somewhere deep into the Next version. And I suddenly started hitting that crash with this new ghost thing that I was doing. And I think it might be related to the other one. So now I've spent the whole day trying to track this crash down, and literally the whole day. And all I know is that it's connected with the ghosts. It's something in the ghosts. And I'm pretty sure of that now because I made the generator spawn zombies instead, and you shoot a load of them and it just carries on running, nothing goes wrong. But then you look and you look at what the differences between the zombie code and the ghost code, and I mean there are differences, but structurally it's kind of similar. And when the zombie dies and the ghost dies, it's exactly the same code. So what it is, I don't know. I'll probably sleep on it now. I'll sleep on it and wait for the answer to pop up. But it's a really bad one. It's really deep. It's not like, sometimes you get a bug and it's just like home in roughly where it is, and then you see it, but this is much more subtle, much more opaque. Is that the word? So that's what I'm doing.
You could say there's a ghost in the machine.
There is a ghost. There is a ghost. In the machine. Yeah. It is the zeitgeist.
A geist in the machine.
Geist in the machine, yeah.
Geist in the machine, yeah.
We've got a couple of comments.
Okay. Oh, cool.
Here's one for you.
Congrats on the success of the Kickstarter. Any ideas of concepts you have taken on from feedback post-launch? Don't know. Have we? We've not had loads, actually, have we?
I think there's. I mean, one that springs to mind is the possibility of certain enemies, actually, or baddies in the game, smashing their walls down. Someone suggested that, which we've kind of taken on board and thought, yeah, we'll work that into something. So yeah, that's one. Which was, again, you design something, and you some things that are obvious, they're right in front of you. And you're looking like that, and it's right there, and you're looking through the gaps because you can't see it. And then someone says about this, you think, oh yeah, that's a cool idea. But yeah, I think there's been lots of little bits and pieces people have commented on, and we thought, oh right, yeah, and then you tweak what you're doing, and that's the great way of doing this. I mean, it's brilliant. It's brilliant for us as developers because we're getting feedback from people straight away, and then we can say, yeah, we can do that, or maybe that doesn't fit, but we can work it around, and it's really good. So yeah, there's a few, I think, yeah.
Sounds quite hard to program that, actually. Thanks very much.
yeah. Tony's going to text me now and say, "What the hell are you talking about?" It's like, no. Hang on, I'm going to reply to him now. Sod off.
It's so rude.
It's so rude.
So rude.
What emoji can I use?
Stu is so nice and in person, but online he's just rude all the time. It's horrible.
Yeah, I'm trolling him really, in online. I'm trolling him every day.
Like a married couple.
Yeah.
That's the way it's going. Yeah.
He's my game dev husband.
What does that make you?
Well, I can dress up if you like, but it's not a pretty sight.
Stretch goal.
Yeah. Anyway, moving swiftly on.
Bringing it back.
Back to the comments, please.
Your game is shaping up to be the best game on Spectrum Next. I'm really glad you picked the Next as the base platform for UrbX.
Thank you. That's brilliant. Yeah, I mean, it's funny because we never really thought about it that way. We just sort of set out to do something that we wanted to create, and I suppose really, I mean, Chris Wilkins kind of suggested, wanted to do some Next games, and we kind of got involved in it, and then we've kind of took it off in our own direction really and just done our own thing. But I don't know. What do you think? I mean, what do you think, Tony?
What you said the other day is actually really true. The more I think about it, and that we haven't actually set out to write a Spectrum-y game.
Yeah.
I mean, if you look at all the Spectrum Next games that have come out, they're pretty much all Spectrum games. Like, there is a way that a Spectrum game is, in the way that there is a way that an Amiga game is, and a way that a C64 game is. And we haven't written a Spectrum game. We've just said here's a machine with a specification and just laid our game over the top of it. It's not in any way a Spectrum game, and I think that's why people are looking at it and going, firstly, holy shit, is that a Spectrum? To which the answer is it is, but that's why it's so different, and that's why people are surprised by it, and people say, shaping up to be the best game on Spectrum Next. That's probably because it's not a Spectrum game. It's more ambitious than that, and that's made it particularly difficult. And it's why I've spent a whole day searching for a bug, because it's bigger. It's a bigger Z80 code base than most people would want to contemplate. But that's the price you pay.
Yeah, I think that's. I mean, I'm regurgitating my original comment, but yeah, I mean, that's
a big comment.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things. It's just because it's the truth. We just approached the game as if we was making an arcade game, really, and it's really down to the fact that the hardware was almost second thought, because it's like, we're working on a Spectrum Next. Let's do an arcade game, and that's it, really. End of. We just worked within the hardware that the machine's got to kind of push it to the maximum we can, in based on our experience of game development and pushing it into that direction that we want to take it. and the feedback so far, as I said before, was just been incredible. I didn't even imagine that we would get this much support, because we're just doing something which we thought, well, hope people like this. We like it, and we're enjoying doing it, and we're enjoying playing the game. And it's just great that people are actually sharing that with us and saying, yeah, we like it too. And it's just great, and the feedback's fantastic. So. Yeah. So I mean, I think it's kind of mutual, like, arrangement, really. I mean, if we, if you like what we're doing, then please, if you can't support the project, we don't expect everyone to put their hand in their pocket. Just share the campaign link. Just share it to as many people as you can, because that really helps us. Because obviously, the more support we get, it gives us the sort of facility to be able to do more and carry on. With other, maybe later on with something else. But it's just great, it's really good. So yeah, please share it if you can't support it directly. Just sharing it is supporting it. So yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
And if you can support it, still share it anyway.
Exactly. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Sharing. Well said, Graeme. Well said. Well said.
Sharing is really important, because that just finding people. I mean, imagine the world population. What is it? 7 billion people, right? I reckon there must be 100 million people that would love this game.
Yeah.
Yeah. Where are they?
That's right.
It's really difficult to find them and say, hey, here's this game that you really like, because you're one of 100 million humans that would love it. It's really difficult. So, and the only way is for people to share it, because if everyone shares it, it goes out, doesn't it? Like across the world.
That's right.
So
that's right.
Share it.
Got a follow-up question as well.
It's a good question, actually. I've been thinking this myself. Should we have started with the Amiga? I mean, probably it would be more sensible, but there isn't actually much data as to what things do on the Amiga. I mean, there's obviously a big Amiga scene, because there are Amiga shows and Amiga magazines, and a lot of people turn out to them. There are some interesting reports on what recent games have sold in terms of units, and it isn't very good, which surprises me, actually. So I mean, maybe the Next is not a huge platform, and obviously we're supporting the PC because we have to do, otherwise it wouldn't make any sense at this stage. The Amiga, it might be better, it might not have been better. I mean, the only difference is, I mean, when we if this had been Amiga, or when we do Amiga, we would go in kind of big, like we have on this one, with a proper Kickstarter and proper box and all that stuff. So we wouldn't have done it low key, and maybe that would give us a different outcome to what some of the other games that have been doing have come out. Who knows? So I think when we do an Amiga version, it'll still be quite an experiment in the way that this one has been.
Yeah. It's I mean, it's all the way things line up in life. Sometimes you get presented opportunities, and you either go with what your gut says, or you don't. And things seem to have just fallen into place in terms of like opportunities for doing this project. From Tony and I meeting at Zap a few years ago, to me helping Tony on his game Wormhole Dungeon, and then Chris Wilkins saying he was going to be publishing Spectrum Next games, and would want to do something, and all these things kind of fall into place, and you kind of run with it, and you think, okay, why shouldn't I be doing this? And I think if that hadn't happened, then UrbX wouldn't have happened. It's as simple as that, so it would have always been, given the circumstances, the Spectrum Next first, because we probably wouldn't have been doing this game if it wasn't for the way things just lined up at that time. Having said that, I'm totally agree with what Tony said. It's whatever we do with the project later, we will be, it's going to be targeted at that machine, centralized. So it won't be just a port. If we do a port to the Amiga, it won't be just a port. It'll be enhanced, and there'll be extra stuff. Likewise, any other formats we do, it'll be enhanced, and there'll be stuff added, so it adds value to it. But yeah, if we had done the Amiga first, then I think I agree with what Tony says. I think we would have done exactly the same thing. We'd have had the big box, all the extras, and because we like that stuff, we love all that stuff. When you back a campaign, you could just say, "Oh, we'll just sell some, just sell the game with the box and that's it." But it's nice to get stuff through, like the T-shirt and the coasters, and it's just nice, and it's just nice. And because it's our stuff, we're making it. It just makes us feel really cool that this is our game, and we've got like merch. And I know merch is like everyone get merch done these days, but it just makes it that little bit extra special. So so whatever we do, we'll probably be doing. We'll do whatever the next one we do will be a campaign. So yeah.
Hopefully it will popularize the platform. Yeah. Hopefully. I mean, a lot of people also say to us, "What's the Spectrum Next?" And you have to explain what a Spectrum Next is, and then they say, "Oh, where can I buy it?" And you say, "Well,
that's another question." Really. Yeah. I'm going to have to say, if the guys who run the Spectrum Next machine itself, if they if it was available in Smiths or Amazon or Argos or one of these high street online retailers, then I actually genuinely think the machine would fly. I think it would be, because it captures the essence of what it was like for our generation. We've got an 8-bit micro, but it can play, so many titles, and it's got that intrigue about it where you can run different cores on it. It's a great bit of kit. So yeah, I mean, it would be nice if you could go out and just buy a Spectrum Next without waiting for like the next campaign. But I understand why that is. It's very, very expensive to put a machine out there and get it to the masses. It's very expensive. So I totally understand why that hasn't happened. But yeah, I mean, the Amiga is, as I understand it, a much bigger audience. And like Tony said, I don't know the figures for sales on the Amiga. I really don't know. But you've got there's quite a large following in the States now for the Amiga. That seems to have gathered a lot of momentum out there. Europe is massive, and Germany's big. I think Norway's big, and over here in the UK it's big. So yeah, we'll certainly, it probably would be maybe a bit higher on the Amiga if we'd have done that first.
But we don't know.
We don't know. It's an unknown number. But we are obviously looking at the Amiga and saying, we'll be looking at that one. But at the moment, all our attention is based on getting this version finished and out the door for everyone who supported us. And that's our priority at the moment. Because once we get that finished and out the door and everyone's playing it, then we'll say, right, we can then, whatever we do, we'll convert all those files over and get all the graphics updated and, make it improve the, some of the elements, like with the graphics, make them smoother and whatever, what we do for each target platform. So, but our main concentration is this at the moment.
The other thing about the Amiga is it would be a bigger project because you can do more on an Amiga. So it would be there'd be more graphics, there'd be more colors, so more work for Stu. It would be quite a lot more programming, and a lot of the ideas that we've got that we can do on the Amiga that we couldn't do on the Spectrum will go into it. So we might have fallen over before we got this far. So the next being constrained to some degree has got us to this point, where we can have a demo that works and all that kind of thing. If it was an Amiga project, it might not be as far along, and we might be suffering in other ways. So it's all for the best in the end.
Yeah, totally. I think so. I mean, give an example on the Amiga, we've got more animation space. So with the Next, we've had to be quite clever with the amount of space we've used for the animation, because it's only got so much memory for the pattern. They call it pattern memory, I think. So with the animation frames, a lot of the animations only got like 3 frames. The main character's got they've got like five frames of animation per direction. But there's compromise. So things like we were discussing earlier about having a zombie coming out of the ground. So that's great, but then you think, well, what happens if you've got other zombies in the level and you've got like pickups and coins and food and chests and all the other sprites in there? That's all taking up memory within that very tight amount of space. So you think, well, hang on a minute, I can't have that many frames for like a hand coming out the ground and then all the rubble shooting out. And then you think, once he gets there, do we just have the hand or do we have the whole zombie appear? but it's all animation space. So something would have to be paged out to do that, to make it look really good. So, but on the Amiga, we've got a little bit more memory for that. So we can actually have the whole process of, the zombie reaching out, and he's coming out, and he's looking out, and he's, looking around, and then he can get up and wander around. Whereas the next, you've got much more limited. So these are the sort of things we're looking at when we do other versions, where we say we'll enhance it. So you're not going to get just a straight port. It'll be like an enhanced version. But that's not right now. At the moment, we're just getting the game all based out and ready, and then we'll make it as playable as we can, and then we'll get it out there, and hopefully, I mean from what we've seen, the feedback's been amazing. So we're just, what you see now is like a small percentage of what the full game actually is.
So would you say that developing it for the next first makes it more focused than it would if you were doing it for the Amiga?
That's a really good question. I think so.
Yeah.
What do you think, Tony? I think so.
I think so. Yeah, because we there's only so much memory and stuff. So we kind of, instead of some teams when they're making a game, they'll do lots of stuff. They'll do lots of landscape and animation and stuff. But then what they might be overlooking is the actual gameplay. And because we're constrained on this platform, we're forced to also look at the gameplay. We can't do easier things like draw stuff just for the sake of it, or program stuff just for the sake of it. So we are forced back inwards, and that's where you find the gameplay. So because there's no way to hide. It's like Space Invaders. If it wasn't a great game, or Pac-Man, if it wasn't a great game, it wouldn't be anything, would it? Because the graphics are so simple. And graphically, this is quite a simple game because of the machine it's running on, but it does play quite well, I think. So that's because we're working on that stuff as well. And it's hard stuff, gameplay and making it playable it's a black art, so there's always something else to do. On a big game, you can distract yourself in all sorts of ways, and that's why games go wrong, because they just lack focus at the core.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it is spot on. Yeah.
Another comment. This is about the zombies and enemies breaking down walls.
Oh, right. Yes. Yeah. As I said before, it is something that we didn't quite sort of think about before, but it kind of makes sense now, because it wouldn't be just like every zombie can break a wall down. It's going to have to be a certain type. So we're working on possible ideas for what we could do with that. But going back to what Tony said, I mean, it's all about gameplay. It is all about gameplay. The graphics, yeah, whatever, but it's the gameplay that matters, and this is where we concentrate on that from the very start. And I mean, when we're putting the levels together, we can put something in a level, and you can make one adjustment. Like, I don't know, like put like put like a gun pickup somewhere, or you put sort of some food somewhere. And that, just placing that one item in a level could totally change the dynamic of how that level plays. Because if you're going through bashing a few zombies, or you're shooting some scorpions or whatever, and your energy's going down, and then you see a piece of fruit or a cake or whatever, and you pick it up, the energy goes straight up again. So it makes you more stronger. Whereas if you don't put that in there, you're going to have to try hard to get through that level. So that dynamic changes just by something simple. So exactly what Tony just said, it's kind of like a dark art, and it's often just trial and error. You think, I'll put that in there, try it out. If it works, great, we'll keep it in. If it doesn't, we'll adjust it and tweak it. And that's exactly the same with the bashing the walls. We are looking at that, but it'll have to be in a certain way where it's key to that level. So when you're playing it, there's a reason why those zombies, or if we're going to put zombies in, they're going to bash that wall down, and it makes it harder for you to get through that level. But likewise, we could use that as a benefit to get through something, and that's what we're trying to work out. Can you use that? Can you get one of them baddies to do something for you, so you haven't got to do it, and then you can get through somewhere, and then it makes your life easier when you're playing the game, like leading him out or whatever. So it's all about the gameplay. It always has to be.
I know with some of the levels, especially one of the levels in the demo, you've got the traps where you walk over it and the floor collapses. are you going to have zombies walking over that and activating it?
Well, that's again, I think that's something we need to look at, because it would kind of make sense if they did that. Or maybe some of them don't go near that. They know the floor's uneven and they won't go near it. And that way it gets out the problem of them activating all the floor traps, because we don't want them to walk through and then all of a sudden you start the level. I mean, if you play the demo, the room, the cave room in the bottom left of area 1, which is like the brown sort of rock and the earth, there's a guy in there and he walks around. Now, if he activated all those floor traps, then that level would be like a disaster. So I think it's going to have to be quite careful how we do it, and again, it's down to maybe to do with weight. Maybe the smaller ones don't activate, but if you're a certain size, some of the bigger zombies, maybe they do. So again, it's all comes down to careful placement of where they are and how that level's designed.
And the ghosts, of course, they should be able to go over them, shouldn't they? But without triggering them, they should be able to float over,
Yeah.
I think at the moment the zombies do actually walk over the open pits, which is a definite mistake.
Yeah.
Fix that.
Yeah.
Remind me to fix that.
Yeah. I shall make a note.
No one's mentioned it.
There you go, another one.
Tower of Evil, C16.
I don't know what Tower of Evil is. I've never seen that one. Tower of Evil.
I think Tony's.
I'll check that out. Tower of Evil. I will check that one out. And
I've not heard of Tower of Evil.
No, I haven't. I haven't heard of it. Tower. I'm gonna write. I've got my post-it notes going on here.
Old school.
Old school, yeah. Well, I do. I have them all on my desk here, and I've got like this little plinth, and I put all my bits and pieces, and I write notes to myself, and so got my little handy little pad of post-it notes, which is good. I actually, do you know what? It's talking about the C16 and Plus 4. That's a machine. This is nothing to do with UrbX, by the way, but what I used to, I've just moved my camera. When they came out, I fell in love with the colouring of the C16 and the Plus 4s, and I said there's nothing to, but I always think the Commodore should have brought out a C64 in that colour, because I think it's just an awesome colour, and but as I say, I've totally gone off at a tangent now, so but I will check that out. Tower of Evil, I will definitely check that out.
I'm curious to check it out because I do like this sort of game, and like I've said a few times, it reminds me of Gauntlet, but it's more modern and more. I don't know. It's more. It's just it's like Gauntlet, but it feels more modern, even though it's for the Spectrum Next. It's kind of a strange combination. Yeah,
I mean, to be honest, when we sat about the game, we was working out what game to do. We did look at Gauntlet and thought we liked the elements, some of the gameplay elements of Gauntlet. And that's where it stems from, and then we just went off and did our own thing. So, I suppose it's really like saying, if you play like a shoot 'em up, all shoot 'em ups have got the same basic function. You've got a spaceship or a character, and you're firing bullets out. Then you can add variables in and say, well, we can have bullets flying in like that formation, or we can have ones that do this. But the core essence of that game is you've got a ship or a character, and they're firing bullets out to defeat all the baddies. And that's the gist of what we've done with this game. We've kind of looked at elements from some of the games we liked and thought, well, we like that from Gauntlet. We like that adventuring element where you're running around and you're picking things up. But we also like things from some of the arcade games like Commando and Mercs and there's loads of them, Ikari Warriors and a lot of those kind of games where you're exploring and you're shooting things. And we're just bringing all those elements in and kind of think we're making our own game with those little bits of, it's almost like making a cake and you've got all these different ingredients and you're bringing them all in to make this masterpiece that you're hoping to create, and hopefully people like it at the end of it.
We've got another comment as well as a bit of a follow-up.
Collector's edition. Big box will be good.
Yeah. Oh, thanks, Phil. That's great. Appreciate that. We haven't really, but that's something we could certainly look at.
High score challenge.
Certainly look at that. Yeah.
Be nice to do what I was thinking. A future Steam version. Be nice to do what Spelunky does, and it sort of generates every day. It generates a new sort of a new level where everyone there's a high score just for that day, so everyone tries to beat in the the level of the day comes along. So if we could generate a level or two levels or something of gameplay from a seed, then that could be the daily challenge, couldn't it?
The daily challenge. Yeah,
the Spire was similar as well, and that it's quite popular.
It's quite a nice idea, isn't it?
UrbX Warriors daily challenge or weekly challenge, maybe the weekly challenge,
annual challenge. Easier for yourself.
That's a good idea. I like that.
Once you've done it, once you can generate the gameplay, then you don't want to be designing a level each day. You're like, oh no, I've got to do today's level. That'd be a nightmare, wouldn't it? But there are ways to. I mean, it's quite a difficult thing to do actually, because I've tried to do it in the past, and you think it's going to be easy, and then you realise it's actually exceedingly difficult. But Spelunky is probably a little bit easier than ours would be, but it could be done. You could generate a little bit of gameplay and have it like a speed run or high score through it or something like that.
I mean, we've got link levels in the game, which are literally kind of like corridors which link areas together, link levels together. So that could, in theory, you could use a series of those and then just generate variants of those with like some of the variables where things are placed, and then that would be quite interesting. I like that idea. That's something we'll make a note of that one. Yeah.
Brooks to Max asks a question that I was actually going to ask. Are there any Easter eggs in the demo, or will there be in the next build?
There's a couple in the high score table, of course.
The high score, definitely, yes.
There'll be lots and lots in high score.
Tony made the mistake of giving me the file for the high score, so I'm going to be editing that as I go along with some sort of things in there. So
there probably aren't in the actual gameplay. I don't think there are really, are there? But
not yet. Not yet.
There's going to be certainly lots and lots. Lots of crazy stuff in there.
Yeah.
The first stretch goal that we've unlocked is the 25,000 one, which has secret places added into the game. Have you started working on them yet?
Yes.
Are you allowed to? Is any of them like an Easter egg?
Well, what it is, I mean, I won't show you. I mean, I've shown this before, but this is I've got this pulled. This is like Area 1, like the actual current Area 1 map list. So the green level that you start in, and the little room with all the brown rock and all, that's what this is all in. What I'm doing is I'm working on how to insert a couple of little extras into this bit. So, for instance, you might go into this room, and you might find a hidden room that you can't see. So, whether you go up to a wall and you walk through it, or there might be a wall that you smash, and then as you smash the wall, you go through that wall, and then you appear into another map. They're the things we're putting in. They are going to appear on a few different areas in the game, so it won't be just on this area, because obviously it's a stretch goal. But I'm still kind of working out how that affects the game. So, like I said before, when you go into these rooms, are they going to be filled with treasure, or are they going to contain like a gun or something extra that gives you a bit of a boost for the reward of finding this hidden area? That's the things we're working on at the moment. So next week I'm planning on actually editing those up and getting them in. But I'm not going to say where they are. So it'll be so when you play if it goes into the demo, you won't know unless you start exploring, and that's the way it's going to work. So yes,
that could make an interesting community challenge.
It could actually. That's a good idea. Yeah. I mean, in the game we've got things like you've got exit points and entry points and doors and things, and really, if you put an exit point somewhere where it's not really supposed to go, i.e. not in a door frame, then in theory it should just transport you to that location on the next level that it points to. So really, there's nothing stopping me from putting one in the middle of a map somewhere, like hidden behind some rocks. You know, I mean, imagine you've got like a little, I don't know, like a little cul-de-sac of rocks, and there's nothing there, and you run into it, and you go up against the wall, and all of a sudden you're transported into another level. Things like that. It's got to be done carefully so you don't ruin the game, the actual flow of the game. But if it's done right, it'll be really cool because then people can discover things, and it adds to the playing the game. Because you think, well, if I run and explore that area that looks quite barren and there's nothing there apart from maybe a zombie walking around, I might find something that's secret and hidden, and that's what that stretch goal was all about. You know, we talked about it a while ago, but we never really thought about it seriously. And then when we was working out stretch goals, we thought actually that'd make quite a good stretch goal, and thought, yeah, we could do that. So yeah, that's next week.
I know you guys were talking about a goat of sorts appearing in the bonus stuff. Has anything materialised from that? Am I allowed to ask that?
Goats, you say? What's that all about?
Goats mean nothing to Stu. Goats mean a lot to Graeme and me, don't they?
Nothing to me because
Stu's been asked to draw a white goat. Let's put it that way.
Yes. And originally, I drew it brown because it was easier, and then Tony said it's white. I said I know it's white, but I drew it as brown because it was easy for me to draw brown and then recolor it as white. So,
it's the wrong goat.
Wrong goat.
The wrong goat.
Yes. Goat.
Yeah, I think
you may see one. nod, wink, wink.
He'll be well hidden, but he'll be there maybe.
Yes.
I wonder if we've got any fans listening and pondering.
I mean, I guess the whole thing about the goat is he's going to be difficult to get past.
What was we saying about hidden levels?
Yeah. Well, they need a guard, don't they?
Yes.
I think you're dropping too many hints now.
I think I should shut up at least. So
moving on.
Yeah, please move on.
You don't know where he is, though. You don't know where he is.
It goes from an interesting
that's an interesting
concept for the challenge.
Interesting. That's not a bad idea. It's not a bad idea. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's something to consider, definitely.
Another one?
Yeah.
Secret room, Easter eggs at nostalgia, trips back to Revan, Sensi days.
No.
Gee, was the many Easter eggs in Sensi stuff?
Well, there's one that I did, which I don't think many people found out until years later, which was the end of Cannon Fodder, which had a lovely message in the back. No, we did actually purposely put that in. But the one I put in, which no one really knew about, was the loading screen when it said Virgin Games Presents. And if you take the, because it was obviously index color on the Amiga, if you took the color values and played with one of the values of the palette indexes, it would actually reveal a message. So, because I made it was white and I changed it to black, so it looked like it was just a black screen with the logo in it. But when you change that, it actually says something, which I'm sure people will find out if you search for it. There wasn't that many. I can't remember we didn't put that many in, mainly because we were so busy doing the game that it was quite hardcore getting that game finished. Certainly on Cannon Fodder. I don't think Sensi Soccer's got. I don't think that's got any real Easter eggs that I can recall. No. Whizball might have had, not Whizball, WizKid might have had a couple. Again, I don't know because I joined Sensible as WizKid was being finished, so I can't. But yeah, I don't think we put that many in. Most of it was out in the open. We just put stupid stuff in there anyway, and yeah.
It's just occurred to me. So you've both made big games for Virgin at one point or other. Have you guys ever sat down and discussed your different experiences working for Virgin?
No, we haven't actually.
Not really. No.
No.
Not do that on YouTube though.
No, that's the one over a pint, isn't it? Later.
I guess it was the same sort of time, wasn't it?
Yeah. Was it 91 to 94? 95?
Yeah.
Would have been
Maybe we had the same producers. Did we have the same producers? That'd be interesting, wouldn't it?
That would be interesting. Yeah.
Like ships in the night.
Yeah. But I mean, to be honest, it's weird because, like, you know, we both, I mean, I was aware of the stuff Tony had done. And it's just weird how things just like happen, you know, and you just can't work this stuff out. You just have to run with it because things sometimes line themselves up for a reason. And it's like almost like, you know, the universe is saying, no, you've got to do this. You've got to do, and it's putting everything in place, you know, where you meet people, you do something, and it's saying, no, you've got to do this now because this is where you're supposed to be going. And you just go with your gut feeling and you think, yeah, why not? You know, why not? Give it a go.
But, you know, speaking of the universe, I mean, I was kind of a bit of a loss. So I thought I'll write a book about Revolution to try and understand what was good about it in the early days, you know, 90, 91, 92, 93, 94, 95, when it was really creative and we did the best stuff. So I thought, you know, I'll write it down and try and understand what was going on so that maybe we can recreate it, you know, and write another great game. So, I mean, I went to that Zap show to try and sell a few copies of the book that I had at the end, and got sat on the table with Stu, who was selling his stuff. And then we talked, got to know each other, and here we are now. So I mean, it came from, you know, the book, trying to figure out what to do, led me to sit next to Stu. I mean, it's crazy, isn't it?
It is crazy, yeah. And we was on that panel together, wasn't it? Was it the Legends panel or whatever? I can't remember what it was called, Legends or something. And yeah, it's just funny how life throws these things in front of you, and you think these opportunities and these routes that you can choose to follow or not. And I think, really, to be honest, I mean, we've both been so experienced of making good games or involved in the process of making good games. So for us, it was like we know what's got to be done to make something really good. The difficulty is translating what you want in here to on screen and playing with a joystick and joypad and allowing, you know, your ideas to manifest into something other people can share and enjoy. And that's the process, which is a bit of a dark art, because you could analyze it till the cows come home, but you have to just do it. And that's the key. You just have to do it. You know, you can have, like, you know, endless numbers of project managers coming in and managing every aspect of a game, but that becomes very clinical and very kind of like, you know, you're ruled by, you know, plans and scores and, well, this doesn't fit that criteria. And we've kind of gone back to the old school way of doing things, just a couple of blokes making a game. And that's it. We're just a couple of guys making a game that we want to play. And it's great. I'm loving it.
I was going to say, I imagine you're more disciplined than that, though, because back in the 90s, you'd have needed project managers and all these people breathing on your necks.
Yeah.
Whereas now you're not getting that, but you're still, you know, you've got a lot of backers with a lot of money, so you need to have a level of discipline so you can produce what everyone wants, you know. Yeah.
But that comes down to the experience we've got. We're both professionals at what we do. I mean, to be honest, I don't know if this happened at Revolution, but at Sensible, certainly in the early days, there was no project management at all. You just got on with what you had to do. And we just all worked on, and because we all had the same idea, we had got to get this game done. And you put the hours in and you put the work in and you get things finished. And I've always had that philosophy through everything I've done. And with this, you know, we've got, like, you know, level plans and all sorts of stuff, but you can't run away with the ideas. You still we've got to face that direction because we've got to get the game finished in that and go there. So there's ideas that we've kind of put to the wayside, which we'll do on another, you know, maybe on a sequel or on another project. But yeah, I mean, you know, I'm a little bit, you know, I'm maybe a little bit blasé about, oh yeah, we've been doing this for years and that. But yeah, you're right. I mean, there is a level of you project manage yourself because we're professionals at what we do. So, you know, both our reputations are important to us, and you know, you're only really as good as your last project. So, and at the moment, this is the project that we're working on. So we've got to make this the best we can because we're putting our names on it, you know.
It must help that you've both got really good reputations already.
Yeah, I mean, I think people, I mean, the good thing is that we're both, I mean, for me anyway, I think it's people can recognize that we're associated with quality titles, and even people who've worked with me, you know, they know what they're getting. If they work with me, they know that if I commit to something, I see it through to the end. You know, that's why I don't commit to many game projects. You know, I've been offered projects over the years, and I think, no, I can't commit to that. You know, the time's not right, or it just doesn't feel right. So it's important that when you do commit to something, you see it through from the start all the way through to the end, and that's it. And the thing is, the journey we've taken on this one has been just brilliant because it's a lot of work, and we've put so many hours into making this game so far, but it's not been like a chore. It's just been like, you know, we're enjoying what we do. You know, we're making something we feel is really special. You know, we're building something together. And we both, well, I'm saying I'm speaking for Tony here, but I think we both feel that it's something that's going to be, I'm going to say magical for us, but it's something that's really, really cool. You know, we've got a good feeling about it. You know, it seems that everything we're doing just seems to be going the right way. You know, we're putting the game, you know, the game we've been working on, people like the graphics, people like the soundtrack's coming along nicely. And it's just really good. You know, it's really, really good.
Yeah.
Question for Tony. Tony.
It's definitely in the top 10. Yeah, so, I mean, the fact that we're talking about it, I mean, of course it is. It's a top game, game from the 90s.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, any game that you can carry on talking about 30 years later has to be good. You know, in all seriousness, you know, I mean, you know, like Lure of the Temptress, Broken Sword, Beneath the Steel Sky, Cannon Fodder, Sensible Soccer, you know, they're all games from years ago that have still got a solid reputation now. I know Sensible Soccer got a re-release on the Xbox, 15 years ago or something, and that's still played regularly now. You know, Broken Swords just had its reforged edition, you know, the original one. These are games from the 90s that are still being played and still very relevant and still frequently outsell modern games. So they're obviously very good. Trying to be diplomatic for you, Tony.
Yeah, I mean, that's it. You know, there's from every generation, there's a handful of games, and you know, 2 or 3 of ours are, and 2 or 3 of Stu's are in that little collection of games that carry forward, you know, and that don't die. What more can you ask for, you know?
Yeah, I mean, a PC had Doom, didn't it, and Quake. I mean, they were the 2 like big titles that everyone remembers from the PC when it started to become like the dominant gaming platform for computers. But going back to that you know, that question or that point, you got to remember that the Amiga was it was the first platform or first machine that came out from after the 8-bit era, where you was very, very restricted what you could and couldn't do. And I'm not saying there was no innovation on the 8-bit machines, because there's loads of innovation, but you was very limited. And the Amiga came along, and it opened those doors that you could kind of experiment and make things that you could just imagine in your head. And you think, well, let's try that, because it had everything going for it. So if you've got all these ingredients in this recipe, it's no wonder there's so many well-known games that came out of the 90s from that machine that people remember today, because it was such a bloody good machine to work on. And you know, and you know, most of the main games that people remember, all of us went through the same process. We worked on the Amiga, and we thought, yeah, this is really cool. We can do this, we can do that. Let's push this, let's push that. And you just did it, you know, which you couldn't do on the 8-bits because they were so restricted. You know, the graphics were very limited. There was no memory. And also you got this machine, which has got loads of memory. It's got the disc had loads of space on it. And so the innovation could then be taken to the next level. So yeah, I think that's why a lot of these games, you know, are still talked about today.
I agree. I've got a follow-up question for you, Stu.
Mm-hmm.
Enjoy.
Of course.
Just steal my answer, Stu. It worked quite well.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, this is the other thing which I've kind of worked out why we kind of gelled really well, and we're both known for games that aren't competing as well. That's what's interesting, because Tony's stuff is more like, he's doing adventure games, point and click. There's a story, there's a narrative, the interaction with characters, puzzles, and there's all this sort of clever stuff. We were doing stuff that was more arcadey, pick up and play, and it's more fast paced than that. And it's really strange because together we've kind of put both of those things into UrbX. Because one of the things Tony's put first thing was this speech system with little text that comes at the bottom. And it's just great, so you can interact with things and you can have messages coming up. And you think that's such an obvious thing to put in. But I would never have thought of that, because I'm thinking arcade, play, blast, shoot things and, kill things and collect things. So when you look at it in that perspective, it's like, well, yeah, so when you look at the, you got the sensible stuff, you got the revolution stuff, and they're both strong in what they do. Both of those companies were strong in what they did. It's like strong games. So bringing those elements together for what we're doing with this, it's quite cool. So yeah, but yeah, I mean, Beneath the Sky, what do I say? I mean, it's like, massive following on that game. Yeah, great title. I can't not say anything else, can I?
But you're right. I mean, I always get to a certain point in the engine code, and I'm thinking these characters need to talk now. I need to do that.
Yeah.
So I'm saying, Stu, I can have the faces for the talking characters, and Stu's like, what?
Why? Yeah. And they're like, okay, yeah. Okay.
You'll see, Stu. You'll see.
You'll see. Trust me on this.
It brings it to life when they talk.
But it does. And the thing is, it also adds narrative to the game, because you can have messages come up which are important to playing the game, but you can also have just like pointless messages that are there just to make you laugh or humor. And that's the key. Like, we've got some things we're going to put in with, like, when you whack a zombie over the head or you defeat something, you can have a funny message pop up, totally relevant to the actual progress in the game, but it's just a little bit of humor, little things like that, which all add to that experience of playing the game.
But also there were games that sat between what we were doing at the time. I always talk about Secret of Mana, and Secret of Mana is a masterpiece of polish and ideas. And in Secret of Mana is kind of sitting between, in a way, what you did and what we did, and where I guess we're gravitating, as we, if we make lots of games and carry on across the next decade or whatever, I think we'll go more towards that little RPG type thing with all the things that we like coming together and making not a Japanese RPG. We would never do all the stats and all that stuff, but the things that you do in the game, I think that's probably the broad direction we're traveling in.
Yeah, I agree. It's all the fun stuff that you can, I love stories. I love the narrative of a game. I love the whole idea that you're creating a world that people can immerse themselves in. And I think what Tony's just said, it rings true, because it's that opportunity to be able to create something where you're interacting and you're taking the player on a journey through the game. But the great thing is is the ability to let them branch off in their own direction. Because a lot of games now, they seem to be steered. You're steered into one direction, And with the Next, we have to do that because we've only got a limited amount of space. So we are steering the player through the game, but there are multiple routes. So if you choose to go, left on that left door, then you might miss out 10 areas or 10 levels that you won't see. But if you go the right door, you might see those 10 levels, and then you might go back to one of the levels you can then play again. So it's given that choice. But I like the idea of having I call them sandbox games. Not quite a sandbox game, but something where you've got possible outcomes for different choices, and it takes you on this journey in different directions, and I like that. So I think, we probably will end up doing something like that in the future.
I do like how the emphasis is like it's an arcade game at its core, but it's still very much about exploration, which is, I think, is quite rare for an arcade game. So you can see where I would say the influence of adventure games has come into it, and it is like a blend of arcade games and adventure games in a way. I really like it.
Cool.
Yeah. We have veered away from the pure arcade games. I mean, arcade games were obviously designed to, like modern AAA games, keep putting money in to keep playing, you know. So they were designed around that, which is why they were rock hard and often, you know, it's something like Gauntlet. It's level based, you know, and we instantly moved away from like, here's a level, next level, next level, next level. You know, we rejected that concept quite early on because it's too limiting, you know. So we have more of a living map that you can come back and forth, and the state holds true and all that kind of thing, which obviously makes it a lot more complicated, but to deal with. But you know, that instantly is a move away from the pure arcade model, and encompassing the things that we all know, like the adventure and the story and the exploring and all that kind of thing that you expect in a more modern game.
Yeah, totally agree with that.
Yeah. You know, we're being called retro, and we are retro in many ways, but there's a lot of more modern concepts in this game, you know. So it's more modern in its thinking and more retro in its presentation, I guess.
So retro inspired rather than straight up retro, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think so.
It's a blend of all sorts of things, but you know, it's new things and old things. I mean, I like the way old games looked more than I like the way modern games look. And I think the way, you know, you're talking about the spec of machines, you know, like the PlayStation 5 is causing all sorts of problems because it's got so much power that developers are trying to graphically meet that power and outdo each other with each subsequent game, which is why they're spending hundreds of millions of dollars on each game, and that it's stretched too thin in a way, and it's starting to break down, and no one really knows what's going to happen with AAA because you know, it's got itself into a bit of a mess really, and it's why they're now shoving the games full of DLCs and constantly asking for money and stuff to keep it, and saying this is you know, awful concepts like game as a service. You know, you're going to subscribe to play this game every month for $20. You know, I think they've gone too far the other way. You know,
yeah,
I'm not sure where that came from or where it's going, but
yeah,
I do think that AAA bubble's going to burst at some point, especially the way it's going. But
well, it kind of is really. It kind of is. You know, I mean, a few years ago, they all envisaged that, you know, like people like Ubisoft, they all said, "Oh, look, we're going to have free games, and everyone's going to subscribe for $50 a month to play them, and it'll be great because we won't need to constantly churn out new AAA games." You know, and they all thought the same thing, and they all built these big games, and it's all collapsed around them. You know, they're pulling these things left, right, and center, and they often don't even bring them out. You know, Sony keep canceling big projects that cost a fortune because they just know they're not going to work. You know, so I mean, I to try and predict. I mean, I think it's just going to, some of those big companies are going to collapse, and it will renew from the bottom. You know, is the way it will go.
So we've got a message from Paul James.
Who's that?
Yeah, Paul. I don't know anyone called Paul James.
Paul is our tester, our lead tester. He's
doing a sterling job as well. He's brilliant. Yeah, thanks, Paul. It's I mean, it is a lot of hard work. I mean, you know the amount of work we put into it, but it's a passion. You know, we're driving this with the right intent. You know, we're trying to make something that that we feel really proud and pleased with, that people, you know, we can play. I mean, if someone had told me a couple of years ago this is what I'd be doing, I would have never believed them, because I was, you know, as I say, I don't tend to do a lot of video game projects anymore because I tend to do other stuff, and it's you know, like I said, you just got to go with it, and it's just nice that we're working on something which we both truly believe in. You know, and we're trying to, I don't know, it sounds a bit cliche and cool, but we're trying to make a difference with what we're doing. We're trying to bring something to the table that, you know, it's like using the old school way of doing things, but in a modern world. Is that a good way of doing it, saying it? Or I don't know. You know what I mean.
Like,
you know what I mean.
It was like Rocky coming out of retirement, wasn't
it? Yeah.
One last job, Rocky.
One last rodeo. One last rodeo.
He pulls on the thing.
Yeah.
Get into training again.
Yeah. I should have put my hoodie on tonight. I should have, and got me gloves out.
Got a message from Matt.
Yeah. Hello, Matt. That's a good question, and we have actually discussed including something like that in the game where you can store food and things. That's something. Again, it comes back to the next. Whether it's, I mean, we have talked about this, and we're still working out whether that would be beneficial to the game or make it certainly too easy. So yeah.
Well, you do.
Yeah,
you do carry certain stuff, don't you? I mean, weapons you carry and keys and stuff.
Potions.
Food you just eat straight off at the moment. It's just like food, eat it. So the rucksack, it kind of explains how you can carry a bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
No, we did discuss it a little bit in the launch party video.
Yeah. It's I mean, the thing is, it's down to whether how much do you allow to be carried, and then you've got the implementation of that in the UI. But food was something we talked about, whether you could pick up a piece of food and store it rather than eating it. But with the weapons, you do. I mean, like Tony said, the weapons are effectively in your rucksack because you can carry. Well, we've got 3 in the demo. No, 2 in the demo. No, 3. We've got 3 in the demo, but there is a 4th weapon as well that we're working on putting in. So you are really carrying those anyway in your rucksack.
And the keys.
It's mainly the food, really. I suppose food, and I mean, there are potions in the game as well. You can pick up different potions, so they are effectively carried in a rucksack.
There's a bunch of potions. No one's seen the potions.
No, we didn't put them in the demo because we didn't want to give too much away. But they're all in there. I think food possibly, maybe store one item of food. I don't know. It all comes down to, I mean, because if you're playing and your energy is getting low, if you find a quiet corner, your energy will gradually top up. So it will actually gradually, because you're resting, so your energy levels are getting back up to normal. So you could argue, do you really need to be able to top it up? So yeah, I mean, it's possible. I'd say, I think possible, but we're not sure.
Got another message. We've got another 4 to get through.
Okay.
For now.
I mean, I mean, I've been looking to find a way to get the band back together for a while. It's just a case of everything's got a gel. I talked to lots of different people, tried to get them interested. Dave Sykes, that I used to work with at Revolution, I tried to get him excited about game dev again and things like that. Retro's been building, and you could kind of imagine there was something there. I mean, the real doldrums was like 10 years ago, or even further back than that, 20 years ago. Like the mid 2000s were actually quite grim, because there was all the things that we were into, adventures and even retro. It was all crushed. People were jubilant that they'd crushed those genres and got rid of them. And it took a long time. I mean, you can make an adventure game again, and for a long time you couldn't. It was the reviewers who controlled the market for games effectively. A 2D adventure was an unacceptable thing in the mid 90s, or late 90s rather. You just couldn't do it, and that was true for a long time, and it didn't really come back until, I don't know, iPhone, I suppose, there was a bit of nostalgia with the iPhone, where suddenly a lot of old games appeared again with new interfaces that kind of worked quite well. I mean, I'm quite proud of what we did with Steel Sky on the iPhone, because the way the UI worked with the touch, it was actually really good. it was maybe as good or better than a mouse in some ways. I mean, it was quite tactile and fun to play, and that kind of there's a little spark of things coming back, I suppose. But you couldn't really go out and get the money to develop the game that you wanted to develop. Still, if you had it, already, you could put it out on the iPhone and do quite well. I mean, you can't now, but you could for a while. So it still wasn't quite right, And then a bit more time has passed now, and I think now people are happy to buy games online, and things like Kickstarter exist. I mean, Kickstarter and crowdfunding is quite important in a way for us as a way of cheaply marketing ourselves, if you look at it that way, because you always needed a publisher, and the publisher had a lot of money to spend on adverts, and which is the way you did it, and had relationships with the magazines that rather complicated relationships with magazines that they kind of went hand in hand with adverts and reviews, and that formed the market for games, and you had to have, there was a whole hidden tier of distribution and warehouses and shop buyers, and please the guys from John Menzies to make them stock your game, all that stuff that no one saw. Oh. And as a developer, you couldn't really do all that stuff, and as two people, you couldn't really do all that stuff. So all the small teams got crushed, and it grew very big and very corporate. Oh. And now with the internet and everyone using the internet and speeds being good, you can download a game in a second, and you can distribute a game, and you can crowdfund a game and get a larger chunk of marketing for next to nothing, all of these things have come together to create a time which is probably at its best now to do what we're doing, And we could have done it, we probably could have done it 3 or 4 or 5 years ago, but stars have got to align, as it were.
Yeah. I remember, go on, Stu.
I was going to say, the other thing with now is that we as developers can connect directly with the people who are actually going to be playing the game, and we didn't do that before. And certainly when you had the publishers, the distributors, and the marketing teams, and the all that palaver, you was quite distant from the people who actually played your games. You might see them now and again at shows or whatever, but most of the time you had no engagement with anybody. So for us, it's almost like you're saying to people, if you like what we're doing, share the love, share, because we haven't got somebody who can market our game. We haven't got somebody who's a publisher who can spend money on advertising, and it's almost like help, it's like we're working together. If you like what we do, share the love and help other people to see what we're doing. And if they like it, then they can share it. And we kind of build up almost, I suppose in one way, it's like a new way of publishing games, because you're taking out all these middlemen, and it's literally us and the people who are playing it. And that's our friends and audiences. That's what it is. It's much better for us to be like that. It's harder work. I mean, it's much harder work, because you don't sit there and go, there's a disc to the publisher, see you later, I'm going down the pub. You're sitting there and you're social media, doing comments on things, and making videos and putting posts out and images and marketing material and engaging with people. It's full on. But you're engaging with people directly, which we never had before. So like tonight, we're getting feedback on what we've done, we're getting questions. It's brilliant. We never had that before. And it's a really good way of working. It's really, it's healthy. It's a healthy way of developing games, because you're directly engaging with people who have got the same passion as you do of making and playing good games. So it's a win-win, really, because we all enjoy what we're doing, and the audience who are watching and are playing it, they seem to like what we're doing too. So it's cool.
Everyone wins but the publishers, the big publishers.
I mean, there's nothing. I mean, to be honest, there's nothing wrong with a publisher. It's just that the margins that they take are, and understandably, because they do a lot of work and they put a lot of money and investment in them. But for us, what we're doing, we don't feel like at this stage we really would benefit from somebody taking a big chunk of the pie. Because the amount of work we put into making the game is so much. That's why things like the Kickstarter campaign is so important for us, because it covers a couple of different things for us, like marketing, getting the word out. It's allowing us to know how many people would actually want to back the project, gives us the finances to be able to make the game into physical boxes and do stuff that we want to do. You know, we both are fans of like printed manuals and colors and graphics and, you know, all that good stuff that you get in the old games where you open a book and you get like a full color brochure with all the stuff. We love all that sort of stuff. But we're in control of it now. You know, we're not giving it off to some publisher who then goes away and gets some art team to do something. And this is the thing. So it is more work, but it's more satisfying for us to be able to have that control. And because this is our baby, you know, UrbX Warriors is our little baby that we've created, and we're, you know, launching it into the world. So yeah,
it's got to be more rewarding.
Oh yeah.
I was going to say, in regards to what Tony was saying about the parts of the gaming industry suffering in the 2000s. I do remember as a consumer being very disheartened when like LucasArts cancelled the next Sam & Max game and then just seemed to completely stop adventure games completely. And then all the magazines like PC Gamer and all them lot, they're all saying, you know, the adventure game is dead. You know, and obviously it did come back, you know, years later, but that was more because, you know, like Broken Sword 5 was a hugely successful Kickstarter campaign. There was also Double Fine put an adventure game out on Kickstarter. I forgot what it was called now. It wasn't called
Broken Age.
Yeah, but it was called something else when it was a Kickstarter. They had like a
Vikings. Yeah, I can't think
what it's called. But yeah, Broken Age was very, very successful, and like adventure games did seem to make a massive comeback. And I think not all of it, but part of it will have been down to crowdfunding and, you know, self-publishing and you know, stuff like that. So I think, you know, I think it's a new era for, you know, small developers.
Yeah.
You know, I think publishers are, you know, the days of like in the 90s where publishers would, you know, use a developer, chew them up, spit them back out and move on. I think that's possibly behind us in some ways. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I mean, I think I think it all comes down to the developer themselves, because if you're a developer and you just want to create the game and let somebody else do all the rest of it, I don't have a problem with that. I really don't. If you know, but you're going to expect to have, you know, a cut taken out of what money you'll be making from that project, which is fine. You know, if that's what you want to do, that's fine. But I think the other thing which I'd like to say is that when we were at Sensible, we missed the 3D train totally. We was like 2 or 3 years out. You know, we should have started developing 3D stuff a couple of years before it really took off, and we suffered as a result of that because we was known for our 2D stuff. So there were trends. There's trends that come and go in the gaming industry. You know, there's a 3D trend, then there's first-person shooters, the trend. But now, certainly from our point of view, there isn't a trend as such, because all bets are off. You do what you want to do and you find your target audience that way, because there's such a big audience there, potentially, that you find your own audience. And, you know, we've chosen pixel art for this game because that's what I'm known for. And we've chosen the game that we feel is something that we want to play. So we've kind of made our own trend in that respect. We've kind of gone our own route, and thankfully people have kind of seen it and they like it. But equally, there's people who are doing 3D games, like really cool, like really amazing 3D games. And there's small developers, like 2 or 3 people doing a game. People doing Mega Drive games, you know, sorting out their own cartridges and getting them all created, and they're doing their own thing. And you think to yourself, you couldn't have done that. You just couldn't have done that like 15 years ago, or even more than that. You just wouldn't have happened. So as a developer, if you do it, if you know what you're doing, you've got a plan of action and you follow it, there's room for everybody. I think there is, you know, but you just got to be prepared for a lot of work, a lot of hard work. And anyone can do it, really. You just got to be prepared to put your head down and just get on with stuff, you know. But we didn't have that, but you know, because publishers often would dictate what that trend would be. So if you went to a publisher with a game demo and a concept, they would often, in my experience, have a list of what they were looking for. And if you didn't meet any of those criteria, they go, no, sorry, mate, not interested. It's like, yeah, this is really good. Yeah, don't matter. We don't want pixel art. We want 3D. Or we don't want an adventure game. We want an arcade game because we've got a slot in our schedule for an arcade game. Now, they could have turned down a fantastic game that probably would have gone on to be really, really successful. But this is the narrow-mindedness of a lot of publishers were. You know, it was like, no, we've got this schedule we need to fill, and we can't use that one. We don't have that now because we're doing it ourselves. And
they were always chasing.
Yeah,
sorry, they were always chasing whatever had just done well. You know,
the trend.
So after Doom came out, all the publishers said, "Stop everything. We must do these games." And none of the ones they did were nearly as good or successful. You know, they were always following behind. You know, we used to go down to Virgin Interactive, and they were obsessing at one point over Resident Evil. You know, they had Resident Evil posters everywhere, and they were going, "This is what we want, Resident Evil. It's so big," you know. Yeah, and they'd always be chasing. I mean, supposedly there was great depth of knowledge and thinking about what to do, but there really wasn't. They just look at the charts, see what was selling like last month, and said, "We must have that."
Yeah, it's like trends forecasting, isn't it?
Yeah, it wasn't very clever, really.
No.
So Sam says, "Hi, all, great chat."
Oh, thanks, Sam. Cheers, mate.
It's that's what he's done.
Rock on, dude. Yeah, that's so true. I don't know Tower of Evil. I said earlier, but I mean, I know that is so true because most of it's in here. You know, those old 8-bit games, most of the imagery that you created and the sense of wonder and the sense of adventure was all done in here. You know, you're feeding your brain that information, and your brain would then jumble it around and create something in here that would then use to form that narrative and that experience. So graphics didn't matter. You know, it was a representation of an image rather than the actual image. And I think that's where we've gone wrong in a lot of games now, where it seems to be so focused on photorealistic graphics that leave nothing to the imagination. When you think, well, actually, I want stuff for my imagination, because when you read a book, there's no pictures. It's all in here. The construct is in here from what the characters look like based on the description the author's written, the locations, everything. It's all in here. And I think that's where the early games really, really shone, was that they used this, you know, not just giving you this information so you didn't have to think. So, yeah, I get that. It is all about wonder and discovery. Totally.
See, I always maintain that one of my favorite games was Zork, and, you know,
yes,
the first 3 Zorks had no pictures at all.
Yeah.
You know, and you can't beat the gameplay value of Zork, in my opinion.
Yeah.
They were great. They were very rich games, weren't they?
Yeah.
I mean,
very,
but in a different way.
Playable as well.
Yeah. Great stuff.
I need to look up Tower of Evil.
I think I've made a note. I've made a note of that.
C16. Not many people talk about the C16 these days.
Yeah.
Graeme doesn't know what C16 is.
Oh, thanks, Phil. That's brilliant. Yeah. Well, we've got a lot of work ahead of us, but we're knuckling down over the next few weeks. I think once we get the campaign out the way, once we get that that finishes, then we can then, you know, focus solely on finishing the game, which is what we're intending to do. And I can't wait, actually. We've got so much stuff to put in, and I've got some more graphics to more level graphics I'm drawing, and it's going to be really cool. And some boss baddies as well, which we're working on, some ideas for some of those, which will be really cool.
Yeah. It's going to be great.
Thanks, Paul.
So one question I was going to ask is how long until the next version of the demo, or will there be another version of the demo?
Well, I keep there won't be a big version of the demo. The structure of the demo we might put an Easter egg in if we get to it. I mean, there won't be a big iteration of the demo, but I mean, I keep fixing things and adding stuff to it. I mean, on Friday or whatever it was, I put the high score table in the PC version of it. So the PC's on 1.01 now. Specky had a lot of bug fixes, so it's on like 1.03. I guess at some point next week, the Spectrum will get the high score table, so that will go out. So I mean, I'm pushing them out as I do them. I mean, obviously, I'm just using it to test what happens when a lot of people play it. But I guess it's fun for people that are following it closely. I mean, so yeah, I mean, our focus is the actual game, the big game, which is running alongside. The demo does the demo's job, and as new functionality, general functionality goes in the engine, and if it's in the demo, then I'll put a new demo out, but it won't radically change. I mean,
I've got to do the because we talk about the high score, and we're going to do a nice graphic that says high scores that'll go in there, which will be the same style as the logo. So that'll be a nice kind of arcadey style high score thing. But I think, possibly we'll release an updated demo maybe later with an extra level or something in, as we've got more into the later stuff in the game. So people can get a taste of some of the other stuff. But the trouble is, there's a danger where you give too much away, and because we want people to play the game and kind of not know what happens if I go here, what happens if I go there. There's a danger that you give too much away, and then it doesn't come as a surprise when you come against something. So that's why we didn't put potions in. That's why we didn't put potions in the demo. For that reason.
That said, we will keep the demo live, so the demo will always exist. We're not going to withdraw it or anything. No. So it will throughout the rest of this game's development. The demo will keep updating. So I mean, some extra stuff might go in there just to keep it interesting, I guess.
Yeah, and we'll probably work on little bits on it. But it's like Tony said, we've got like, you've got like the demo there, and then there's this great big branch of the code and everything, which is the actual game. So next week, I'm actually doing working on the actual game stuff rather than stuff for the demo. So I'm doing all the working on the actual final levels for Area 1. I mean, we're planning to get the whole of Area 1 totally and utterly finished, and then move on to Area 2 and Area 3. But obviously, if we concentrate on the demo as well, then it's drawing attention away from the main game onto the demo. So there will be little updates, but it won't be anything that's going to be like majorly different. It'll be like little tweaks and maybe little graphical updates here and there, and logos and tweaks to the high score and all that sort of stuff.
Actually, Stu, we might put those scorpions in.
Scorpions can go in, and spiders, because on the Area 1, I think I said to a few people, we've got like zombies and ghosts in there. They're not supposed to be in that area at all. So there's scorpions and spiders that are going to go in there, and a snake. And we could probably put them in the demo, get them swapped out. So yeah, that makes sense. And then that way you actually play an Area 1 or Level 1 as you would play it in the game, as near as.
Yeah, so in a way, the demo will become more what it should be. It will evolve into being what happens in the demo rooms will be what should happen, if that makes sense. Because there's stuff kind of thrown into the demo, and I guess we'll refine it. Is what we'll do.
Yeah.
So we'll probably put an Easter egg in there as well, just see if people find it.
Yeah.
It's a good way to test things, actually.
Yeah.
Do you reckon there'll be a version of the demo that's just for backers?
Possible, I suppose. Maybe.
Yeah. Well, there's the old artifacts thing, which will have its role at some point.
Yeah.
If backers can keep it secret, then it will just be backers.
You've got to keep the secret, though.
You've got to keep the secret.
Great. We've run out of comments to read out.
Okay.
Don't know. Do you want to call it a night for now, or do you want to keep?
Yeah, well, that's an hour and a half. Is it an hour and a half?
Yeah, just shy.
That's not bad, actually. Wow, that's gone past very quickly. So,
we should do this every day.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. Thanks for everybody for watching and for interacting with us and for following our project. And if you've backed it, thank you for backing it. Please share the campaign link and any posts that we put out, because I probably sound like a broken record, but it really does make a difference. The more people see it, especially since we're just a two-man team. We've got two of us doing it full time. And we've got a few, people around the outside who are helping us along, like Graeme, and we've got, Richard doing the music, and Chris Wilkins, doing stuff. And so we've got a few people on the outside helping as well. But it is just the two of us, so we need all the help we can get to get the word out that we're making this game, and it's very much appreciated.
Spread the word.
Yeah.
Before we do go, I just want to mention for everyone watching that if you've not had a chance to look at the add-ons yet, please do, because there's some really cool stuff in there.
Yes.
And I imagine some of it's going to be exclusive to the Kickstarter, and then that's it. It's gone.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So you need to have a look.
Yeah. I mean, we've got there's two designs for the mouse mat, which are in there, and we've got 3 t-shirt designs. I've got one design which is up there, and I've got to design the other 2, so they'll be updated once I've designed them, worked out what we're doing. But yeah, the chances are that probably I'd say maybe 2 of the shirt designs will be exclusive for the campaign, and one of them will be available after, but tweaked. So, but again, a SPO, yeah. So it's there are stuff that you won't get outside the campaign on there.
Yeah, I mean, once these big boxes and stuff are gone, that'll be it for those.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah,
go forward a few years, there'll be proper collectors things,
Yeah, especially the signed ones, because we will be signing some of them. So, and the art prints as well. We've got the framed art prints, which will be, they won't be available outside. There'll be a few of them after the campaign, once we, because we'll make a few of them up, but they are made for the campaign. So once those framed prints are gone, then that's probably it. And some of the actual character prints that we're doing, again, they're for the campaign as well. So yeah, just check out all the add-ons. And again, if anyone's got any questions, just drop us a message on or go to our Discord. We've got a Discord. Go in there, interact with us. You get updates and stuff, and some of the behind-the-scenes stuff as well on there. And yeah, it's all lights are green at the moment. We're working on getting everything into the game as we can, and get it to you guys as soon as we can.
Yeah, and you can contact the guys on Facebook, obviously on the Kickstarter, Discord. I'm sure they're more than willing to answer any questions you've got about the campaign. Sure. And I would just say check out the add-ons while you can, because we've got 2 weeks left now. Yeah.
It's because once they're gone, they're gone. We're not going to have we're not going to be able to order loads in afterwards, because it's there and that's it.
If there's say there's backers enough for 900 big boxes, we'll probably order 1,000, because that's the way it'll work. And then when they're gone, they won't be we won't be ordering another 1,000, so that'll be it. And there'll be good things to own in the future.
Yeah. I mean, we're both big fans of the big box format. And I never forget when I first got cannon fodder, when we first had that, the Virgin sent a big box of cannon fodders, and the first time I saw it, I was like so pleased that it's like, this is the game we've been working so hard on after the last 18 odd months, and you think 2 years. It's like, wow. And it's that feeling that you've got something physical you can put on the shelf, take it down, you've got the artwork, the manual inside, and it's just great, full color.
So good, isn't it?
Yeah, it just looks the business, and they look great on the shelf as well. They just look so good. And so we're big fans of all that sort of stuff, because it's, I mean, digital's cool, it's really cool. Nothing wrong with digital, but I just don't think you can beat having something physical that you can hold and look over, and you can get it on your shelf and you show people, well, what's that? You got, I've got this new game, and you give it to your mate and show it to people, and it's just cool, So yeah, so like Tony said, once if we get like a load of them sold and or backed for those, then chances are you'll probably do 1,000 or whatever the number is. Once it's done, it's done. It's unlikely we'll order any more in. So
yeah.
Okay.
Great.
I think we'll
call it right there then. Thanks everyone for watching. Thanks Tony and Stu for taking part, and we'll speak to you next time.
Cool. Thank you. Cheers everybody. Don't forget to share the link. Cheers. Bye.